ஏமாற்ற முடியாது சொல்லி இந்த வாய்ப்பை தந்த நன்றி நன்றி நன்றி.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sri Lavu Shri Krishna ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on election reforms. For the last 2 hours, I've been listening almost entirely of what most of the opposition leaders has to say. Of course, they have expressed the grievances, and they have every right to express the grievances. But I also wished wholeheartedly that they will express the achievements that we could, as a country, we could do in the last 75 years as well, with regards to the electoral process. Sir, as Supriya ji has mentioned, I should tell because I'm representing Telugu Desam Party, and it's an experiment in this country. It's a beautiful experiment that happened. In 1982, in the month of March, Telugu Desam Party was formed. Unlike now, unlike today, where you have newspapers, social media, and television channels, back in that 1982, they were not there. And the elections was in 1983 January. So it was only 9 months time Telugu Desam Party had. N.T. Ramarao garu went ahead, announced his party. And the most interesting thing was, because it was a new party, it didn't have the symbol also. So Telugu Desam Party in its first election went into the electoral process without having an official symbol. Sir, the interesting fact is, out of 293 constituencies in United Andhra Pradesh, Telugu Desam contested 287 constituencies. And out of these 14 constituencies, they didn't have a proper symbol also. And Telugu Desam Party was victorious in 203 constituencies. And even in the parliament seats also, out of 42, Telugu Desam could win 30 seats. Well, in 1983, yeah. So when the party didn't have official symbol, when party didn't have enough time to campaign, still the voters have come forward and voted in favor of Telugu Desam Party and brought it to the into the power, sir. Why I'm telling you this is, this shows the intelligence and wisdom of Indian electorate. I wish the opposition leaders who have spoke on this would have expressed this idea also in this house, because a lot of youngsters are watching it. They would also appreciate it. Not only this, there are other things that we could achieve in the last 75 years. They compared Germany, they compared USA and all those things, all those countries. I wish when they are comparing with all these countries, they also should have compared in the way that India has given universal adult franchise, which the other countries couldn't do on the first day itself. For USA, it took almost more than 176 years after independence. After 176 years of independence, it could give it. United Kingdom, it took 96 years. Canada, it took 93 years after independence. France, it took 152 years after independence. But India, we could do it in the first day itself. And our electorate came forward, our citizens came forward and voted. And a lot of people have said at that time, like yesterday, I think Hudaji was quoting Winston Churchill also, that this experiment is going to fail because this is too alien to India. But election after election, we have seen the success of it. Not only that, I wish because this is a success, you should have actually at least expressed it. Instead of trying to just express your grievances, even the credit also he can take sometimes.
माननीय सदस्य प्लीज चेयर को एड्रेस करें.
And not only this, ma'am, giving the right to vote is one thing, but how you can make sure that most of the people can turn up and vote. In 1951-52, in the first election, there are 44.87% who have turned up to vote. And in the recent election in 2024, 65.8% have come out and vote. If you take out the urban constituencies and consider only rural constituencies like mine, it would go up more than 75%, ma'am. And the most interesting thing is, in the last two elections, in 2019 and 24, the women out-voted men, ma'am. This is the success that I think we should express it. But somehow they missed it, ma'am. And not only this, there's a maturity that has been shown in the voting patterns also, ma'am. They've been talking about various other things, but I want to put this on record. In the state elections that have happened after the independence, 385 times the election happened in various states for the assembly. And from the first 35 years, from 1951 to 1986, 56 times the government has changed in the states. And in the last 35 years, from 1987 to 2002, 133 times the government has changed in the states. So it shows the maturity, it shows how much educated our voters are about the society. So I think, I hope they'll appreciate this fact, ma'am. Sometimes you need to take the credit, but somehow they keep missing taking the credit, ma'am. And instead of doing that, all I'm hearing for the last 2 hours is vote chori, EVM source code, paper ballot. No one asked about vote chori when the Congress won in Telangana. No one asked about EVM source code or paper ballot when Congress won in Karnataka. They keep asking these questions only when they lose Haryana by a close margin. They lose Bihar by a huge margin. So these are the questions that they raise only when the results doesn't go in their way, ma'am. So I wish they go through the report, because, yes, thanks for taking up Tamil Nadu, because this is coming from the newspaper that is published in Tamil Nadu only by Hindu, and I'm sure you are the Kanimoji senior member sitting here. Kanimoji senior member sitting here. He is the chairman of the workers' union of this newspaper. It's a very credible newspaper, the Hindu, and it has published the report. It has published this report. It has published this report. Of course, if you have gone through the articles that they published, even before the Bihar election also, if you have gone through it.
जब आपकी बारी आए तब आप बोलिएगा, प्लीज बोलने दीजिए. आप बोलिए.
No, it's okay.
आप बोलिए, प्लीज. बोलिए. माननीय सदस्य, आप चेयर को एड्रेस करिए.
So this is the report that have come out in the Hindu newspaper, ma'am, and it's a very credible newspaper. And before the Bihar elections happened, they also published Frontline as a magazine. There are a lot of articles that have come in this Frontline and also in the Hindu. They were on both sides. They were critical of SAR. They are in support of SAR. But after the election was over, they came up with this report. What they were saying in this report was they have analyzed two things. One, what was the election result in 2024 Lok Sabha election in Bihar, and what was the result in the constituencies in the assembly elections of 2025. Second, they analyzed is what happened in the constituencies where there were a lot of deletion of votes, what happened in the constituencies where there was less deletion of votes. Both of this has been verified by them, ma'am, and the report says stunningly, constituencies with the large deletions did not show higher gains for NDA or any other party. So I hope you won't fall in this trap that's been laid by Congress. Areas with minimum deletions also did not show any predictable voting behavior. And also, the scatter plot showed no pattern, no tilt, meaning the SIR did not favor any one side or disadvantage the other side. This is what the report says. So, for the last two hours, whatever they're trying to make from the opposition side, ma'am, I hope they'll get hold of this report and try to read this report so that next election they're going through, I hope they won't fall in the trap of the Congress, ma'am. Ma'am, Ma'am, I am a new member in this house. It's only second time. There are people that have been here for almost 10 times or more. They contested elections for more than 10, 11, 12 times, ma'am. And in the two elections that I've contested in 2019, there was a voter turnout percentage of almost 84% in my constituency, ma'am. In 2024, there's a voter turnout percentage of almost 86% in my constituency, ma'am. This shows the voters have confidence in the election commission to come forward and exercise their vote, ma'am. And obviously, I accept after going through these two elections, I still accept. It's not that everything is perfect, so there is no need for reform. There is no need for many new suggestions. No, I'm not saying that. Of course, there is a need for reform. And starting with that, ma'am, we've gone through the election commission. They have invited us. We have given the report to them. And I request all the opposition parties also to go and exercise that. The first reform that we request the election commission through the law ministry is that adoption of a single unified electoral road for state, national and local body elections, ma'am. This is very much needed because every time there's local bodies, there's assembly elections and parliament elections. Most of the time, the electoral rolls are different. And also, there's talk of biometric use of biometric in a voting ID, ma'am. But as the Supreme Court says, we cannot include them. And surprisingly, they are the ones, when that was brought into this House, opposed it. Because they said most of the schemes that are delivered to the citizens are done through the Aadhaar card. Because it is done through Aadhaar card, it helps the party in the ruling if you can combine both of them. So from Telugudesam party side, what we request is, if not bring the Aadhaar data onto the voter ID, why can't we create the same iris, same thumb impression on the voter ID so that it becomes unique? And third one, ma'am, conducted targeted re-enrollment campaigns for migrant workers, tribal groups, and the elderly, ma'am. The fourth one, capacity building for BLOs and EROs, because this capacity building happens only 6 months before the election or 8 months before the election, but this needs to happen continuously every year. So I request the Election Commission to look into that. And increase the transparency and participation by booth-level agents. We, as a regional party who is in power in Andhra Pradesh, we have come forward and we have said, please implement SIR in Andhra Pradesh. That is our request. That is the request we put across to the Election Commission. And we want it to be, you are also the government. You are also in the government in the state. Did you forget that? You are not in the opposition. So you must be doing something wrong then. So you must be doing something wrong in Tamil Nadu. I think you forgot. You're already thinking that you lost the election. Don't think you already lost the election. There's 6 months' time. So we want the BLOs to be trained, ma'am, so that from all the parties, we want them to be involved in this whole process. We're not just saying that bring one party BLOs and do it. Bring all of them so it becomes transparent. And sixth one, ma'am, publish district-wise data on voter additions and deletions regularly so that all parties can come together, see which one have been deleted, which ones have been taken out, ma'am. And the second reform that we request, there was law minister that was here earlier, ma'am, with regards to the moral code of conduct, ma'am. Although BNS section 169 and 177 now cover electoral offences, they were earlier listed in IPC sections 171A to 171I. But the problem with this is, ma'am, the convictions remain extremely low. I tried to search for the last 2 days how many convictions have actually happened in the 75 years. I couldn't find a single one. It's because there's a weak statutory backing and limited enforcement capacity, ma'am. Existing mechanisms under the MCC rely heavily on district-level authorities, leading to inconsistent action and poor deterrence, ma'am. So what we request is to establish an independent enforcement agency so that money laundering, empowerment to investigate, monitor, and prosecute electoral offences under the MCC can happen. This body should work alongside the Election Commission of India with clear statutory authority specialized personnel, and nationwide jurisdiction to ensure swift, uniform, and credible enforcement of electoral laws. Right now, what's happening is if someone has to complain, they have to go to the state local authorities like local police, which will be reporting again. So it won't work. It is not working well, and it's not being. The convictions remain very low. So that I hope this change can be made in the due process, ma'am. And the third one being the third reform that we suggest, ma'am, is with regards to the anti-defection. Currently, the Speaker of the House decides the defection-related disqualification cases. It raises the main problem is the delays that is causing because of that. So I request the Law Ministry to look into it and amend the 10th schedule to mandate a statutory timeline for resolving the disqualification cases, ma'am. And finally, ma'am, recently there was an election that happened in New York, and everyone celebrated, everyone shared on social media about the mayor election and how it was won and everything. But when I read the report that was published by the CAG about our urban local governments, they are published by auditing 17 states in India, and only 40% of the ULGs have elected councils and mayors exercising control over barely 25% of the constitutionally devolved functions, while serving only 12 to 30 months. So I think we need to empower them more. We need to make sure that they can access, because these days when you go to any city, the mayor is there, but his power is not, you won't be able to exercise his power well. Last 2 minutes, ma'am, I'll conclude. And similarly for the panchayat elections also, this needs to be enforced, ma'am. And last and final recommendation is with regards to that fixing the tenure of the state election commissioner for 5 years. Because in the previous term in Andhra Pradesh, between 2019 to 24, when previous state election commissioner wanted to conduct these panchayat elections and mayor elections in the state, that then government said arbitrarily cut short his 5-year term to three-year term. So the process couldn't go ahead, ma'am. There was an arbitrary decision that was made and made that elections delayed. The ones that have really suppressed was the citizens of the state, ma'am. So I request to amend Article 243 of Part 9A of the Indian Constitution, so that this, to strengthen the functioning of the State Election Commission, this will actually, I'm not asking you to encroach upon the federal structure of it, but define a guidelines to that, so that the State Election Commission can function independently in the states, and also strengthen the electoral process in the state governments also, ma'am. So with these suggestions, we are all here for maybe for a few years as MPs. Maybe some lucky ones will be here for maybe decades. But the ones that will stay here are the ones that will stay here are the institutions, ma'am. Institutions, we need to support them. We need to strengthen them. That is what we should work here. That is what we should be discussing about here. Instead of demeaning these institutions, we should be working towards strengthening them, ma'am. I hope all parties will come together, come forward and put the proposals on how to strengthen the Election Commission as an institution rather than demean it, ma'am. With this, I thank you for giving me the option. Thank you.